it's MK and I am back with Off the Board, the Christmas in July edition, and I am going to attempt to make these triangle boxes. Now, I made one in advance so that way I could see what it was. I also made a template to make this 10 times easier, which I will show you guys in a minute. I'm just showing you guys the inner workings of the box that I already made, so you get an idea of what it is that we are going to be making today. Now, I did pick out only one card because I didn't want a whole bunch of these hanging around until like Christmas time or something. But these are really cute. So I've got my twine and a hole punch for the twine. I've got a quilling tool with a half of a branding strip. And then I have my card that I picked out. I'm going to try to use these little birds and hope that they work. I have one piece of cardstock, as well as this squishy mat that is by close to my heart. It's actually called a Versa mat. So it's hard on one side and squishy on the other. And they use it to get a good impression on their stamp sets when we used to actually just stamp on our own and not use a stamp press. All right, so here's the template that I created, and it is a 9-inch triangle. It is a true triangle, 9 inches on all sides. Then I measured it in half, which is at 4.5. And what I did was I created a smaller triangle within that one, so it's kind of upside down. So all of my triangle pieces, which there are 4 more, that are all 4.5 inches. Then from the 4.5 inch mark, I measured up 1/2 inch, all on all 3 sides. So then that creates the depth of the box. From that mark, I measured up 1 3/8 inches. Don't ask me why 3/8, but it just worked. And I tried my hardest to follow along with the gal whose post that that inspired me, and I'm gonna get her name here in a second so that way I can share this with you guys. Now, this is only sped up ×2 because with this template it makes it so much easier. And here I am just explaining to you guys that with this template, it makes it so much easier. But I got most of the measurements from the gal that, that I found on, it was a TikTok video, in all honesty. And her name was Angela, it's a it's a foreign last name, and it's Angela Kober, K with the O, B-E-R. Angela Kober is her name. She's a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator overseas, and she did a beautiful job showing how she created her template. And I created my template based off of her YouTube video. She also has a TikTok that shows it very, very fast. The YouTube video is not in English, and so I had to convert all of the metric sizes into standard size, so that way, or I should say fraction size, so that way I could create my triangle. And I had to fudge some of her numbers because where she has a millimeter or a centimeter, it doesn't convert perfect into our fractions. And so I had to smudge it a little bit, and I think that's where I ended up with the 1 3/8 little piece. So like I said, I once you create the template, it is so super simple I used a foam pad. You could use a mouse pad if you wanted to. I used the mouse pad and a stylus, scored all my lines, and then I cut it out by scissors because they're such a simple cut. And then, of course, now I am, putting it all together for you guys. I put a hole punch within the 1/2 inch marks because of the fact that way all of them will be on the side rather than at the bottom or on the top. So the 1/2 inch, like I said, is the depth of the box. And so that is where you put your string going around. Also, too, you want the string to be strung on the inside of your box, unless you want that outside look. Okay, but I think that with it being on the outside or the inside, the little strings in the corners help hold the box together as well. So what I'm doing now is I'm using the tip of this triangle to figure out, you know, my bird placement, my pattern placement. Now, if you guys are just using regular pattern paper or building these boxes for, they don't have to be Christmas ornaments or Christmas related at all. They could be for birthdays, they could be for anything. However, I didn't know how to cut out these birds in a triangular shape. Now, if I had a punch, that would be amazing, but I wanted it to be in a specific spot, and I had no clue how to get the triangle. And I guesstimated that the print was going to be cut at 2 1/4, which is smaller than the size of triangle that was left over after you did all your score marks. I didn't know how to measure that. So what I did was I outlined the existing triangle, and then I'm going to pull out my guillotine cutter and guesstimate where it is. I try to cut with my scissors, and then I thought, oh, this is going to be fun, and they're not going to be straight, so I better pull out my guillotine, and that way I can make sure that the edges are straight. It's going to drive me nuts if they're not. I did have to get a little close to some of the birds, so where I'm cutting off is just the 2 sides that are farthest away from the bird, so that way I don't have to cut it any more than I already did. So yes, again, this is all just guesswork. Instead of trying to measure out. Now, what I could have done is take my ruler after I've already cut it out the size that the perfect size of the triangle. I could have measured down to 2 1/4. I didn't even think about that until right now. Triangles are hard for me. They really, really are. I struggle creating with them, and I struggle measuring them all out because I want them to be perfect. And the way that Angela created her, oh, heaven forbid, the way that she created her template or her sketch of her box, she definitely used a lot of math and a lot of tools that I did not have access to. And so when she told me what size her triangle was, that's when I went to creating, and I figured out from there. But she had to figure out what size triangle that she could get from her Stampin' Up! 8.5 by 11 paper, which I think over there, I'm not sure if they are. Over there, I don't know where she's from, you guys. I didn't catch that part in the video. The YouTube translator was slightly off at translating what she was saying, and so I missed where she said she was from, and even if she said it or not. And so I don't know if Stampin' Up! Creates I think their A4 or whatever size is over there, or if everything's 8.5 by 11, and she had to figure out what size triangle she could get out, the largest one that she could get from that size paper. And she told us in metric size what size that was, and I converted it over to our overseas size, the standard size. All right, so what I'm doing right now is I am creating a bead. It's just a paper bead like I used to do in kindergarten, preschool, back in the day, right? And I just took I took 6 inches of a branding strip. Now, this is a branding strip from a Close to My Heart paper pack from a few years ago that I had hanging around, and I'm just rolling it up on top of itself. But I used my quilling tool first to help me get that perfect curl, so that way I didn't end up with a smushed bead, if that makes any sense. Normally when I curl it by hand, I end up with a smushed bead, and so the quilling tool just helps me get that perfect roundness right off the start. And then as I rolled up, I made sure to glue it so it's a nice hard bead. And that is it. Once I strung the twine through the bead, I tied a knot, And that is it. You push the bead down and it magically keeps the box closed. You don't need a whole lot of pressure on it. The way that the triangles interweave and that bead helps it stay closed just like that. All right, you guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I am sorry I was at a loss for words today. I apologize. I don't know why every time that I am trying to explain something, the words just disappear, and I don't know what it is. It's quite frustrating, actually. But I do appreciate you guys hanging out with me and checking out all these little projects that I've been doing throughout this month. I've been having fun doing something a little bit different than just a layout here and a layout there. All right, thank you so much, and I will check you all later. Bye.